Commander Kenny Ellis was supposed to be here tonight. He's the new precinct commander for 2nd Precinct. In case you don't know, the agency is broken up into 6 different precincts, and we're out here in Lehigh as part of the 2nd Precinct, and encompasses most of the east side of the county, all the way to Henry County, all the way towards Alva on one end, that's the Fort Myers border out there at State Road 82 and Colonial. He had a family emergency come up today, so he had to cancel his speaking event, and he allowed me to do it. So I'll introduce myself a little bit. My name is Lieutenant Mike Truscott. I've been at the sheriff's office now. I'm on my 19th year here, so a couple short more years here, and I'll be able to maybe enjoy some retirement. We'll see how that goes. I moved to Lehigh in 1984 or 85. I grew up out here. There was not much out here when I moved here. There definitely wasn't a lot going on out here. But it was a great little bedroom community, great place to grow up as a kid and all that stuff. And went to graduated from Riverdale High School, went to the Marine Corps after that. Fought a little illness after I got out of the Marine Corps, went through some ups and downs with that, bounced back, and then ended up joining the sheriff's office in 2007. So here I am now, going into my 19th year here. It's been great. I started my career at the sheriff's office in Lehigh, so it was a great opportunity. I grew up out here, graduated from the police academy, got assigned out here to Lehigh as one of my first patrols. So that was super good to be able to come back out here and serve the community and see things at a completely different perspective, right? I grew up out here and have some friends that didn't go the same path that I did, right? We have a couple of those. Sometimes I was with them, and sometimes I knew it was time to leave, right? And I picked the right times to leave, obviously, right? So here we are. And then spent a little time in patrol. I was a patrol supervisor out here. I was a sergeant out here on the road. I was a sergeant in our detectives bureau out here in Lehigh. I was a narcotics detective for a while, intelligence detective for a while, got promoted a couple times. The sheriff asked me to join a new unit that he had started called the Community Response Unit. When he became sheriff, it was a vision of his to create this unit that was solely based on giving back to the community, right? And you'll see it now all over the place. All the public events the sheriff does, all of our ice cream trucks and the robot dogs and all the things that he's doing out there, that was all a vision the sheriff created when he did this community response unit. So I was over there for about 4 years. They asked me if I would go over to youth services for a little while, and I was helping as a lieutenant in the youth services, running all of our school resource officers in the schools, that was a good year, different. That's very, very eye-opening level of law enforcement, something super different. So I did that for a little bit, and now I'm the administrative lieutenant for Lehigh, just underneath Commander Kenny Ellis, who left me here to talk to you guys because of his illness that he's got with his family at the house. So a couple things I want to touch base with you guys on. First of all, thank you. I appreciate you guys inviting us out here. I think members of the community don't often get to hear and listen and see what's going on with law enforcement in Lehigh, right? A lot of times they get those negative interactions, and that's the only time they get to see law enforcement, right? Is when they're at your window for running a stop sign or speeding a little bit too much, or your neighbor's music too loud, and it's always these negative interactions. And some of those things that the sheriff created with the community response unit was to get those interactions with the general public and be able to interact in a positive way with law enforcement. Get to meet and greet and see some of the law enforcement officers and the humanity that every single one of us have, and let kids come say hi. And instead of just in a time of crisis or when mom and dad get pulled over by law enforcement, right? It's a positive interaction when we do these kind of things. So I appreciate those. I appreciate the invite and able me to come out here. Another thing I want to touch on, Lehigh is growing a little bit, right? And with the growth comes people, and with people come crime and traffic and all the things that we deal with outside here every single day. The sheriff has done a really, really great job at keeping pace with the growth out in Lehigh, right? It's a challenge, I think, for every law enforcement entity in 2025 to hire cops, right? It's a stringent hiring process. It's hard to get hired. People experiment more with different things as time goes on, and we allow more things to happen. So the hiring process is tough. It's hard to find qualified candidates. So therefore, it's hard to keep pace with the hiring that goes on for law enforcement. Obviously, you guys see an influx of people coming from other states, as you see on the news, where law enforcement isn't as supported as it is here in the great free state of Florida and Lee County, where we have a ton of support here. So as law enforcement officers come in from other jurisdictions, we're hiring them as quickly as we can get them hired, get them trained, and get them out on the road. I follow, and I have for many years, a lot of the Lehigh community outreach pages, Lehigh community pages. There's a lot of good stuff on there. There's a lot of garbage on there too, as we all know, right? There's a lot of what's that, who's doing what, and who's doing what, so it gets to be a lot, and if you filter out some of the garbage that's in there, there's some good information in there. Lehigh is predominantly good, hard-working people that just want to take care of their family, come home every day, see their family, go to work the next day, rinse and repeat, right? They just want to be left alone, right? And sometimes we don't see that in some of these Facebook pages, but a lot of the complaints that we see are there's not enough cops in Lehigh. There's not enough traffic enforcement in my neighborhood. There's not enough of these things out here, right? Those are some of the biggest complaints we see. One person will report a burglary, and it's like there was a mass invasion, right? Crime's going to happen. We're going to do our best to prevent it, right? Crime prevention is number one, but we do a really great job at once it happens is investigating those and locking up people that do it. And to my point that I was getting at earlier is we have 6 precincts. And when people talk about there's not enough cops in Lehigh, right? The sheriff has staffed Lehigh with the most cops that any precinct has in the entire county. We have 85 personnel out here in Lehigh right now, and our precinct over here in Second, which is about 10 or 12 more than any other precinct, including South, which is Bonita and Estero and all those areas down there. Our north precinct, Precinct 1, they're second to us, and it's just population and it's crime, right? And it's those things. So you want cops in some of these areas, we have more problems. So the staffing out here can't be any more. We were doing some manpower things today. Every week we have to adjust where deputies are at and where they're stationed and all those things. And as of right now, we have 5 or 6 deputies in training that's coming to Lehigh, and we have 3 openings, right? That's good. That means we're plus 3, right? And through attrition and other people getting promoted and moved to specialty units and all that, so we're keeping pace. Lehigh is pretty much fully staffed when it comes to cops. If you asked any law enforcement supervisor the 2 things they would like, supervising cops, it's more cops and more money, right? I think that's anywhere, right? Probably with the school board the same way. We want more money, we want more teachers, right? I think that's anything, right? You'll never have enough, especially in a precinct or in an area or a district where it's growing so fast. It's hard to keep up with the pace, and hiring good quality candidates to do this very, very difficult job in 2026 is challenging, right? It's a tough job. We're blessed to have the support of the community, the county, the state attorney, our sheriff. 100% allows us to do our job out here as law enforcement, doing it professionally, morally, and ethically, right? And that's a huge push for him. So he allows us to be cops out here and do the right thing when we have to do those things. So that's one thing. The second thing I want to touch on is some of the initiatives that the sheriff has started recently as part of this community outreach program, where a lot of law enforcement agencies, I don't want to say fall short, but it's not really our window. Sometimes we have to delve into it, is mental health and drug addiction and those kind of things, right? Law enforcement struggles every day to keep up with the mental health crisis that's going on in the county and the country. I think it's everywhere. It drives crime, and it drives drugs, and it drives a lot of issues. And, I brought some pamphlets with us too, just to show some of the community resources if you guys want to take them. But, the sheriff has started these ton of programs where he's doing a great partnership with all of these outside entities, like the Dubin Center for Alzheimer's, a great partnership with Park Royal and Solace Care for some of these mental health issues. He started a crisis canine care team where if we're dealing with an individual in crisis, we're able to send these crisis canine dogs out as long as the area is safe and all those good things. And we allow this canine to help some people, crisis with people having an immediate crisis. So those are the kind of things. The resources are plenty at the sheriff's office. We've gone as far as hiring counselors that are on our staff. They work in dispatch. They're able to take calls when people are in crisis. We have therapists on staff that are able to be dispatched to calls where people can come out, give therapy. And when law enforcement isn't really the right answer, we're able to address some of these mental health issues with counselors and things like that on scene. If it's not an immediate need, we have a program that the sheriff set up where you can go to any one of our precincts and you can register someone, or you can self-register people who may have trouble with law enforcement if we're called out. We're called out to your house and you say you have someone that's on the spectrum and they don't communicate well, and we have to go to the house for a call for service. If you register that house and you register that person, before we even get there, the deputies know from their computer that, hey, there's a member of the community who lives at this house who may not be able to communicate well, right? They may be nonverbal and things like that. Deaf. Some people can't speak, so we're giving commands to people, and we know at that house, hey, they can't hear, right? That's probably a problem. You're telling someone what to do, and they can't hear what you're telling them, and it feels like a little bit of a resistance problem, right? So those kind of things help in the future, and just down the road of some of the programs that the sheriff has put into place for us. The men and women that work out here in Lehigh, we deal with a lot of challenges, right? Lehigh is big. Some areas are sparse. Some areas need more attention than others. So a perfect example of how I explain this is, if you live, let's just say you live over in the Gateway area, right? And you live in Hampton Park and Gateway, right? If you live in there and you say, well, hey, I don't ever see a cop in my neighborhood, right? Well, as far as we're concerned, proactive policing, right? We go where crime is. Probably a good thing that you don't see a lot of cops in the neighborhood, right? Not a lot of crime there, right? So we don't really need to be there. Do we need to be there for routine patrols and make sure we're visibility and all that stuff? Yeah, probably a good thing, right? So if you don't see us out there every day in some of the neighborhoods that you think we should be in, or in your neighborhood, it's probably because we don't have a lot going on. Everything we do in patrol is we call it intelligent-led policing, right? It's strictly focused on where we're seeing trends at. If we have a trend of car burglaries in an area because people leave their car doors unlocked, lock your car doors. And then we'll focus in that area. You know, one of the biggest issues that we have in Lehigh when it comes to crime is juvenile crime. Moreover, it's more than any other precinct in the entire county is our juvenile crime problem out in Lehigh. And there's many, many reasons for it. We can just probably guess for a lot of reasons, but we're trying to do a really good job at holding some of these kids accountable. Juvenile crime is a problem for a couple reasons, and how we deal with it is we have something called a juvenile assessment monitoring program, where if a kid commits a crime, they're put on like a pretrial diversion program. This pretrial diversion program sets boundaries on what they can and can't do. They can go to work if they have a job. They have to go to school. Depending on the offense, sometimes we put ankle monitors on them. But the biggest thing that we do is they have a curfew. And that 6 to 6 curfew, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, allows law enforcement to stop by their house at any time from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and check on them to make sure that they're home, right? And if they're not home, they violate their probation. We look for them if they're not home, and we'll put them back in jail so they can see a judge in the morning and answer to why they're not holding up to their end of the deal, right? So it's very successful, and it has been successful as we ramped this program up over the last year. Our juvenile crime is way down. All crime is way down overall out here in Lehigh, but our juvenile crime has been way down. We follow these statistics that we call them bar crimes, right? And bar crimes are the things that affect the community most: burglaries, auto thefts, and robberies, right? Those are the things that impact the community. It's your hardworking stuff that's being taken, right? It's your money that's being stolen. Your car is being broken into. That's when you feel the crime, right? You see somebody get a bicycle stolen. They just got a bike for Christmas and the bike is stolen. Those are the things that impact the community the greatest. And a vast majority of those crimes are being committed by juveniles out here in Lehigh. And it's parenting. It's a lack of parenting and guidance and all those things, which circles back to what you guys are doing out there every day in the community, trying to make a difference and getting in some of these young kids' heads to steer them in the right direction. It's been a huge success for us, and things are going in the right direction out here in Lehigh. Kenny Ellis has a vision for things just in the last couple of months since he's been out there. It's turned some things around. We've created this kind of a mid-shift where all they're doing is focusing on juvenile crime. That's the main focus for these two mid-shifts. They work like a 2-to-2 schedule that covers most of that window where the kids are out, sneaking out of their house and committing these crimes, and we're able to do the most juvenile checks on them, the probation checks from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And like I said, that the program has been huge for us. We would stop a lot of crime in Lehigh if people would lock their car doors, right? Lock your car doors. Almost every single time that we have these rash of car burglaries, it's crimes of opportunity for kids that are out walking around at night, unsupervised, checking car doors, right? That's number one. If you get your laptop taken out of your car, it's a lesson learned, right? If you get your earbuds taken out of your car, it's a lesson learned. We leave car doors unlocked with loaded firearms in the center console, right? And loaded firearms in your glove box and underneath your front seat. And then they're in the hands of 15, 6-year-old kids who are breaking into cars. Those are the problems. And, you know, if we could get everyone in Lehigh every single night to lock their car doors. We may be able to take care of a lot of these problems down in Lehigh. And like I said at the beginning, with growth comes problems. It takes an entire community to come together to stop some of these problems, communicating in a positive way, getting the good message out that a vast majority of people out here in Lehigh want to go to work every day. They want to raise their family. They want to have a vacation every once in a while. They want to be left alone, right? And interact and do the right things. And our deputies out here work really, really hard. They're super passionate about what they do. And 99.9% of the time, we get it right? That 0.1% of the time that we don't get it right is the time when we're on the news. And that's what we try to avoid. The old saying when I first started this was, don't make YouTube, right? Do a great job tonight. Don't make YouTube, right? So, and that's the sad part about it is that, and it's the profession overall across the country. I think 99% of law enforcement officers want to do the right thing. They are doing the right thing. And it's that 0.1% of law enforcement that tarnish the badge, makes it a bad rap. And sometimes there's always two sides to every story too, right? So when we get it wrong, we have to own it. We have to eat it. We have to fix it, learn from it, move on, and keep training to make sure that those things don't happen. So I could do this literally all night long, you guys. I really could. I love being out here. I love serving the community of Lehigh. I did it as a community policing deputy for a long, long time, involved in everything Lehigh for many, many years. I always seem to circle back, and I always end up back home again, which is good for me because it's familiar and I like it. And maybe one day you'll have my bio. But I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? I'm more than happy to take one. Or you can complain, I'll listen, or just yes, sir.
How about the gangs in this area? I know a long time ago there was the Kings. That was it. Now,
yeah. So a lot of times what happens with gangs, and I spent a little bit of time in the gang unit. We don't have the gang problem that you see in some of these bigger cities, right? Most of the time, our gang problem are what we call hybrids, right? We have these 14, 15, 16-year-old juvenile kids who will pull bits and pieces from these nationally recognized gangs. They'll use it as their own, use it as their symbols. They'll call themselves these things, and then they become this entity, right, that they think they are. Now, I'll tell you this, that over time, the city of Fort Myers has dealt with a lot bigger issue than we have in some of the areas of unincorporated Lee County. We do not have a huge gang problem here. You will see this graffiti by juveniles and things like that, and they'll use the pitchfork symbols and all these other things, which are just bits and pieces pulled away from some of these gangs, some of the nationally known ones. They'll use it as their own. They'll come up with this hybrid name. They'll wear the same colors, and they'll draw the same graffiti and those kind of things. But overall, we do not have a big gang problem here in Lehigh at all. Things are looking so good, man. I wish I could get to more parts of the county sometimes too, just to see how good it is. morale is up for us, which just means it's just better for everybody, right? When things are going well and crime is down, you can always tell when things are going well, right? People are shopping and the malls are packed and people are being able to put gas in their car. Maybe not right now. But things are going well, right? You can tell things are just going well. Not everybody has the same as some other people, but everybody's doing pretty good right now. I hope, and we just hope that we continue in the right direction.
I think last year we were the first precinct to get the drone mounted on top. If you could talk about that and how.
Absolutely. We had a program where we were the only precinct in the district that had a DFR drone. Let me get there. DRF. The acronym. No, it's drone as first responder. DFR. Drone as first responder. And what it was is dispatch had a computer screen down there, and let's just say call for service came out at Veterans Park, right? And this drone was able to fly a 3-mile radius from the precinct, right? And the dispatcher could see that call was in that 3-mile radius, and she could click a button where that call for service was at. The drone would automatically lift off and deploy and go overhead to that call for service. All of our deputies on the ground, they would put a link into our CAD. We could click on that, and we could pull up the camera from that drone. So before deputies would even get there, the drone was on scene already above head and could look down from up above and see what was going on in that scene before deputies even got there. It was a successful program for us. That particular drone is no longer there. We've ended up going with a different company where the drone is reliable. The area that it can cover is a little bit more, and we're adding a few more to the precinct. So we're starting with the new program. In the next month or two, we've partnered with the fire station out there on Gunnery and 8th. They're right there by the racetrack and all that. We're putting a drone on their rooftop over there, and we're going to put 2 or 3 total over a period of time, and we're going to have that same program. It's not called drone as first responder. Every company has their own little thing, but the program is successful, and we're going to continue to add those to the precincts as time goes on. Our drone was just equipped with a better technology drone that we have now that's deployed by the deputies. Call for service comes out, a deputy will grab it, we're able to take it to a call, able to put it up for missing people, which are super important then, missing people and things like that. So having a drone up with every deputy on scene being able to see what's above them is a huge advantage for us. The technology that we've gone through at this agency just in the last 5 to 7 years is insane, right? Like even when I started in 2007 or so, compared to what we have now, our equipment is great, it's reliable, it works when it should, right? We don't ever have to worry about things breaking or breaking down. We have good equipment, we have good vehicles, all that comes at a cost, right, to the taxpayers. But at the end of the day, it's also there to keep everybody safe. And the technology works, it's worth it. If you've not had the opportunity, and I can maybe get with Deb on this at another time, if you guys have not had the opportunity to take a tour of our Arctic Center, our real-time intelligence center, have you been down there to see it?
Oh, yeah. That's impressive.
I mean, the technology that we have at this agency is absolutely unreal. And if I would invite this Rotary Club to get with me, and I'll get you guys a tour down there to be able to see the Arctic Center. It's super impressive, and that's like a behind-the-scenes look on what's going on out here every single day. One of the biggest, the most impressive things that we do here, I think better than any other county, is school safety, right? Our SRO program is absolutely second to none, nationally recognized. We have agencies from all over the country calling and asking us how we do things and getting advice on how we do them. One of the examples is that there's so many cameras all over our Lee County schools. We can see everything, right? And with all those cameras, the Arctic has access to every single one of those. We can see perimeters of schools, inside of schools. Hey, there's a fight here. There's somebody on the property that shouldn't be. Immediately at our real-time intelligence center, our analysts down there put the camera out there at that school. We pull it up on giant televisions out there, and we can see what's this guy doing? Is he supposed to be here? Why is that vehicle parked there? So the safety and security of the kids has been the #1 initiative for the sheriff, and we just continue to get better on that. The school safety here in Lee County is literally second to none. I have a 10-year-old that's in a Lee County public school, and I'm glad she's there. I love the SRO that we have there. I'm confident in his abilities. Like I told you guys earlier, I spent a little time as an SRO, and I watched the way these men and women train every single day to keep the kids safe. super impressive. They do a really, really good job, and literally second to none when it comes to school safety at all of our Lee County schools. So it's been good. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if SRO is a DARE officer, but as a single mom, I would say the DARE officer at the schools that my kids went to when they were in high school and high school was the greatest blessing I ever had.
That's good. Yeah, so DARE is an old 80s, 90s program that they had, say no to drugs. This is your brain on drugs, those kind of things. We've evolved from that. I mean, the program still exists, I'm guessing, in some other parts of the country and stuff, but we've gone way past that. Our school resource officers are great mentors to every kid at all levels, sometimes a little harder as you get through the middle school years, right? Getting them to calm down and listen a little bit, but they can be a huge influence on the older kids in high school, and obviously the elementary school kids, they still love everyone, right, most of the time. So those are the easiest ones, as you know, as teachers and parents, and the middle school years can be challenging even for SROs to wrangle in some of the wild youth at the middle school age. But they do a great job at mentoring, and we have the cadet program along with the explorers program, middle school age kids all the way up through high school age kids who can get in the explorer program and volunteer with the sheriff's office and be a part of all the programs and everything that we do. Yeah, so those are great programs. We're doing great things here at the Lee County Sheriff's Office. We've come leaps and bounds over the last 10 years. Things are growing exponentially. The county's growing bigger. The agency's growing bigger. I see cops now. I'm like, who's that person? I used to know everybody by name, right? You're like, you get a new person, you're like, who's that guy? I've never seen that guy. I've been here 8 years. Like, well, there's no way you've been here 8 years, So we're just growing as an agency, and with that comes challenges too, right? But the sheriff's been able to manage it really, really, really well. He means what he says. He takes really, really good care of us. He's passionate about what he does, and he means it when he says that, he needs to keep every person in Lee County safe as his number one priority. He really means that. He really, really does. That's the thing. Anybody else want to say something? Yes, sir.
In those situations when you see like an incident at school, and I harken back to a 6-year-old in handcuffs. I mean, what equates to that level of interaction as opposed to just having a 6-year-old sit in the principal's office so the parents can pick them up?
Yeah. So I think there comes a sliding scale, right? There comes a sliding scale where you have a zero tolerance policy. I think the sheriff and the school district have a great partnership, right? They do a really good job at working together and addressing every single one of those issues. And we try to get it right 100% of the time based on the age of kids, right? There's a mental capacity there at 4, 5, and 6, and 10, and 12, and 15, right? And I think based on the severity of the crime of what we're dealing with, right? It's hard for me to even say that at 6 years old, right? Because I had 2 kids that were 6 at once, right? So you think about those things, and I can't speak on any specific incident because I don't know exactly what you mean, but I think that there's a time and a place for everything, and when we can get it right, we'll get it right. And I just think we will do what we can do to make sure that everyone is safe, including people that aren't doing the right thing. 6-year-olds, that's young, right? 6 is a really, really young age. I'm not aware of any time when we put handcuffs on a 6-year-old.
Oh, it happened. It was on the internet years ago and all that. I've never seen anything recent on it, but I mean, I don't imagine a situation where a 6-year-old could be restrained to the point where you'd have to go to handcuffs, but it happened. Yeah. And it wasn't even in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about this, you see stories with elementary school age kids bringing guns to school, right? They're taking firearms in their backpacks from their parents who aren't securing firearms and things like that. So there are incidents where things like that are going to happen. They don't look very pretty, right? But I don't know why. But there are instances where sometimes those things will happen, unfortunately.
And the scared straight, unfortunately, works.
Sometimes, there are different viewpoints on parenting, right? There is gentle parenting, right? And we have because I said so parents, right? You'd be seen and not heard and those things. So, that's the spectrum of parenting, right? Everybody has their way. Gentle parenting on one kid may not work on another, and sometimes, getting your kids to listen is a little more challenging, and how you handle those is everybody. I'm being about as political as I can be. I raised. I have a son who's 24, and I have a daughter that's 10. I raised my son completely different than I'm raising my daughter, but I was also 25 years younger when I had my son too, right? So I matured a lot, and as we do as parents, right? I had my daughter at 40. My mindset at 40 is not the same as it was at 25. I can tell you that, right? So sometimes as parents we get it wrong, and we just like kids do, we get it wrong as parents, and we just try to do the best we can to raise productive members of society, right? I think that's what we can do. That's what we can do. Yes, sir.
I just want to close with saying I've watched them train as SROs. I have no doubt if there's something happening, they are going to run toward it. You know, they train so hard. It's scary. Their hearts are literally, because they do like a scenario, then they react to it, and then they get critique. And they go one at a time, you know, and the others in the room, they don't know what their scenario is going to be. But I listen to them as they critique them, and you can just tell the hearts, they're out of breath. The hearts are beating like this. I mean, it's really intense. But that's
dozens of agencies across the country reach out to Lee County when it comes to school safety. I promise that. As great as the school board has done for us, and the partnership between the school board and the sheriff's office is, they're like connected at the hip when it comes to school safety. It's a priority that I think everyone should take seriously, right? And they just continue to do a great job. That integrating that partnership together works really, really well. The kids of Lee County are very, very safe. I think that if everybody goes on the notion of not if it happens locally, maybe not in Lee County, but Collier or Charlotte or Glades, Henry County, but it's when there's going to be an incident sooner or later, right? And it's the reaction of law enforcement. It's those first responders who are first on scene to eliminate that threat as quickly as possible is what's key. And that comes from training, a great partnership, training teachers, training the educators, training the cops, training the kids, all the way down to letting the parents know what to do if an emergency happens, right? And it's just being prepared. And year over year over year, we just keep getting better and better and better at it, and training people to be aware of what's going on. So I thank you guys. I appreciate your time. I'll leave some business cards up here and some resource material here if you guys want them. And by all means, my cell phone number's on my card. I'm not scared. I don't hide. But if you call me at if you call me at 2 a.m. with a couple cocktails, I'll call you back the next night. So I just respect the number, and I'm open for phone calls anytime for anything that you guys need. I'll leave a couple of them out here for you guys if you need something from us here at Second Precinct. But I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, wait yet.
Okay.
Don't go away.
Not yet.
I know.
On behalf of the Rotary, everyone, thank you for coming out here.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that, man.
For your milk
Some say it's
cookies.
water, some people say it's milk, some people say whiskey.
This is definitely a milk cup.
Yeah.